Hey folks, welcome back. So today I'm going to be trying to get in I guess this will be my first second cutting of hay. Last year, well, things didn't go overly well and I barely managed to get in a first cut and just didn't get around to trying to work on the equipment in time to get in a second cut. But this year, I'm going to give that a go. I made it through the first cutting with not too many issues, and if you watched the last video, I just worked on getting all the parts swapped from the John Deere Model 9 sickle mower to the 39N. They're very similar. The 39N is a little bit newer model. So I am kind of working with a new piece of equipment this time. We'll see how that goes, but hopefully I put everything together right and this will go fairly smoothly. So I decided it might not be a bad idea to stop here for a minute. I'm maybe a third to a halfway done with the field, but seeing as it's been a while since this equipment was used, even though I did grease it real well, I figure if anything is kind of loosening, well, any gunk was kind of loosening up inside of any of this stuff, it might not be a bad idea to put some fresh grease in there to just kind of help clear some of that out of there, maybe. I don't know. It certainly is not going to hurt it at all, that's for sure. It'll also give me a chance to check the nuts and bolts on here and make sure that nothing's getting loosened up since I was swapping a whole bunch of stuff out. This thing, it is kind of loose. I'm not sure if I can get it any tighter or not. Now, on that first pass, I was having some issues, partly because I needed to do some adjustment with the top link on the 3-point. It wasn't quite set right, and so that was giving me a little bit of issue, but the other part was that when I got over to the far side of the field over there, that's shorter grass, and it's also a bit in the shade. Ooh, that one's, use a new net on that one. I'll get on that, oh well. And the grass is shorter, and it was also a little bit wet, and it was just plugging up terrible. It wasn't wanting to feed up and over the top of the sickle bar. Ooh, that one's loose. That's why you check stuff like this. And so instead of sticking right to the edge of the field over there and doing the whole thing, I came out 20 or 30 feet, and the grass was a little bit taller and drier, and it started working just fine once I got out past there. But some dirt on there. Interesting. But that first pass around there was real slow going while I got stuff kind of sorted out, but so far it's been doing all right since then. Well folks, that was by far the smoothest this has ever gone for cutting. Didn't break any of the pitman arms. So that was real nice, because that's always kind of a pain to swap those out. The end down here, this is about as much grass as I would get stuck into here. It didn't really bind up too much, so I think this plate right here definitely helped with that. And sometimes it would actually just clean itself out. It would get that out of there just on its own, so I never had to stop and clear that out at the end, which was something that I consistently had to do on the 9 since it didn't have that plate there. So that went way better. The only issue I had was something went wacky with the camera, and it threw some error code, and I lost the time lapse for doing the end of the field there. So, you know, it wouldn't have been a good project if something didn't go wrong. But in addition to stuff not clogging up on here, I was also actually able to run it a little bit faster. I was able to run it in 3rd gear all the way around. A couple spots in the middle of the field where it was thinner, I actually kicked it up into 1st gear high range, but that was like 1% of all the field out there. So basically the whole thing was done in 3rd gear. Before, I think I was having to run it in 2nd gear through some of the thicker areas. So this was definitely running better too. I don't know if I've got it maybe kind of tuned a little bit better than I had before. and that's maybe part of why it's running a little bit better, but definitely a whole lot better experience than the last couple times I've cut this field. Alright, so today is baling day. We haven't raked yet. I'm waiting for the grass to dry out a little bit more. But while we wait for that, we've got a couple things we need to do on the baler. The one thing is I want to drop this down a little bit further. I wasn't quite picking up all the hay, some of the stuff that was kind of down in the grass a little bit further. It wasn't wanting to get that. So I'm going to let this chain down another link or two. That way we're kind of getting down into the grass a little bit, so that hopefully we're going to be able to pick up all the hay. Another issue that I started having last time I baled, I didn't have it the time before, is that this cable right here is what puts tension on this belt. So what happens is when your gate lifts up, it pulls up on this cable and it takes tension off this belt, and that makes the, I guess, the apron, the kind of the chain with the bars on it, quit turning. The problem is that this is catching on one of these cable clamps back in here, and it should be straight from here up to here, and as you can maybe see, it kind of angles back and then comes forward. So I need to get something adjusted in here so that it's not catching on this cable clamp anymore, because when this catches, it keeps it from getting enough tension on here, and it doesn't let the apron turn. So basically every time it lifts up, when it comes back down, it catches on that. So that needs to be adjusted. Of course, I need to grease everything, oil everything, get all that done, and check tire pressures and all that kind of good stuff. See if we're ready to go here before we need this thing here in another few hours. Alright, well, we're finally ready to get started here. It's 20 after 2. That's like an hour or two later than I wanted to be starting raking, but that's just the way it goes. So I'm going to set you guys on time lapse. I'm not going to move you or restart it any more than I have to, because I'm kind of starting to run a little bit short on time to get everything raked and baled this afternoon, I think. And I always like to account for at least a little bit of time if I break something or get the baler jammed up and stuff like that too. But anywho, let's get this field raked. All right, field is raked. It took a bit under 2 hours to do it, and this is about a 6-acre field, something like that. So not too bad, not too bad. I was hoping it might be a little bit faster than that, but it is what it is, right? So that's done. Got the baler over here ready to go. It's all oiled up and I think ready, hopefully. So yeah, let's start baling and see if we can't break something on this. Alrighty folks, well, second cut of hay is done. And as you can see, all the bales are already picked up. My sister was wanting some of these bales of hay, and because it's for a horse and they're particular about what they eat, she wanted them to be put under a cover so that it wasn't getting wet, and you know, horses are fussy is what I'm saying. So she got my dad to come out, and he was running around on the skid steer as you saw, picking up the bales, and then brought them over here and actually got most of them under this big tarp here. I don't think she actually wants that many, but she just went ahead and we covered as many as we could get. So there's 3 rows of 5 there. We got 15 underneath that, and then got another 3 over here. So there's 18 bales total from this. So a little bit less than the first cutting. Well, the first cutting we got 18 bales, but then we had that whole pile of stuff over there as well. So it was probably like, you know, 20 or 22 worth for the first cut. But yeah, so 18 bales out of there. And actually the day after I baled, it's a few days past there now, we actually got like over an inch of rain, inch and a quarter of rain out here. So hopefully between that and if we keep some warmer temperatures, this field ought to start growing back a little bit more, and I can possibly graze cattle out here. If I get some this fall, I'll be able to graze cattle out in this field a little bit over the winter, and the grass will have grown up enough that there'll be a little bit of something here for them to munch on. Now, one thing that was really nice with this go around to making hay is that nothing broke. That was a first. Now, that's not to say that it wasn't without a few little difficulties, and one of those, of course, again, was the baler. Now, the knife still is not working for cutting the string, so I still have to get off every time to do that. In addition to that, I swapped out one problem for another with this stupid little cable right here. Now, I put in a half turn in here when I was working on it, and that kept this cable here from catching on this clamp up in here. But what then happened is that it caused this one right here to stick out a little bit. So then every time that I would lift the gate on this, this would catch on this thing right here. And this is the lockout for the hydraulic. So that way, if you're working in the bale chamber or something, you're doing something in there, you put this down, and that prevents your hydraulic from being able to drop down. So this would catch on this, and it would pull it down just enough so that it would catch on the cylinder. And so what I had to do is I had to come out here after every bale, because of course you lift it up, kick the bale out, and then I'd come out, I'd have to kind of push on this, and then I would smack this cable with a hammer, and that would move it just enough so that I'd be able to move this back up and out of the way, get back in the tractor, drop the gate down, and move on to the next bale. So in other words, I had to get out twice for every bale that I made, or I guess that would have been like a total of 36 times for getting all these bales made here. I think I need to try and source or have one made, a new cable for this side, so I can get rid of all those clamps. That way it'll look more like this one that's nice and neat and tidy and has these crimps at either side. You just have one cable going through there, and that will solve one issue. And then I'm still not 100% sure what needs to be done with this cutter to get that working. I know that you may not be able to really see it, but this, let's see, this bar right there is what the knife is on, and that is bent a little bit. My guess is that that was bent before I got it. My guess is maybe they got a stick or something that got brought up into there and that bent that out or something. I don't know if that has anything to do with it not wanting to work right. It may. So that may be a project to have done before first cutting of next year, which really means that I'll do it like the week before I'm wanting to try baling hay. But either way, we're not going to mess with it for now. I've got enough other little projects that need to be worked on here in the pretty near future. So I think that is going to be a wrap for hay baling for 2023. And hopefully maybe in another few months, if I can get my act together and get a few cattle, I'll be feeding some of this hay back out here to those. So that is going to be it for today's video. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.